Yes, hello. I am James Roden. State Stubbing Art 555. It's our New Japan catch up. Luckily, I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show is, of course, fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Well, hello. This has been a long time. I feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these. So welcome on in, everyone. Hello, hello.
Yeah, are you looking forward to it? Like I said, I mean, the last time we were here was Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom, so the
Mm,
start of the year. So it feels like a lot of
mm.
time has passed in the wrestling world.
A little bit, yeah. It feels like we're way overdue a catch up and definitely way overdue on New Japan. So this was a long time coming.
No doubt. Well, up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going great. Like you mentioned, I am still in the God tier of New Japan lore, even though I've started to bow myself out slowly. Uh, I'm excited to talk about New Japan because last time we talked about it, I was not a happy camper. So we'll see if New Japan decided to fix their shit or did I unsubscribe.
Well, we're trying to make you cheer up. That's what we're trying to do. Because, yeah, the last New Japan show, we were like, we've never seen Monty like this before. And we even questioned what we were doing. So hopefully this can cheer you up a bit. But anyway, last but by no means least, and I do apologise. This song is better with a Scottish accent. You know we belong together. You and I forever and ever. No matter where you are, you're my guiding star. And from the very first moment I saw you, I never felt such emotion. I'm walking on air just to know you are there. Hold me in your arms, don't let
Mm.
me go. I want to stay forever, closer each day. Home and away. And home and away, Gina is always in her element. How's it going, Gina?
Hello, hello, welcome. I am great. I am excited to do some New Japan reviews. My deductions may not be great, so I'm just going to follow in Great Monty's lead.
Yeah, well, doubt. I mean, what do you think of my Scottish accent? Come on, let's be real.
I appreciate the
That was a start.
dedication.
So I asked Gina, not the shady bitch. So can we just please? Can we...
I mean, yeah, I like the dedication that you
Yeah.
put to it. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Monty, it was an Australian soap, just in case you're wondering what the fuck that was. But I'm glad to have you all on board, of course. When we had last left it, like we said, was after Dynasty. And we'll bring you New Year's Dash and everything in between at some point. But the backstage comments were interesting from New Year's Dash because Jeff Cobb said he only cares about himself. And it's very interesting, Jaxie, that United Empire really hasn't recovered either from Will and Aussie Open leaving or the cage match from uh, early last year, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, with what we've got coming up to talk about, there is a lot of like speculation behind what's really going on within a few different factions, I think, and especially United Empire being one of them. I feel like, losing a great leader has kind of left them in a little bit of a disarray. And I'm not sure that every member of United Empire is on board with which direction to take the group. So it's quite an interesting dynamic right now because I don't think that we've seen this sort of level of like disarray between some of the more veteran members of United Empire for a while. But with Hanare going off like injured as well, I don't think that's actually helped. Their
Mm.
united front. So it's a bit of a questionable time for the group, and I'm certainly intrigued to see where certain stories are going to go for certain members of the team. We've got a lot to talk about, as you've said, coming up, but and we'll get into it a bit more. But this is definitely a weird time for United Empire.
Yeah, without doubt. Well, Shota tried to attack Greater Khan, but got flattened. Kent had a lovely moment with the cameraman. If you know, you know. And both Suji and Gabe said they are the new faces of New Japan. And Gina, it's no real surprise, is it? It's these two, Yota Suji and Gabe Kidd, after they're showing, like we said, the Dynasty, Wrestle Kingdom. These are the guys that are going to break out hopefully in 2025.
Yeah, definitely. They were on our radar last year as kind of, pushing themselves up there, and to see them right now is kind of like you definitely know that they're kind of showcasing themselves even more to make this year their year.
Yeah, they really do look like, I hate the word to use, but superstars, so to speak. But move on to Battle on the Valley. First bit of action, January 11th. Mayu Utami, Yuka Sasaki, and Hiromu Takahashi defeated Sumo Sakai and House of Torture Eva and Show. This was Sakai's retirement match. It was the greatest outside interference. The crowd joined in on the Mexican stretch, and this was great. And Monty, I don't know, you probably know a little bit more about her, but it was nice to see the retirement match and the fun shenanigans involved.
Yeah, it was, again, I always talk about how New Japan and just Japanese pro wrestling in general, the respect that they tend to show, a lot of the wrestlers of the past and all of that. I'm not an expert on Sakai, but I've heard the name. She's, one of those people who've been doing this for a long time, and in Japan they don't tend to wrestle. The legends tend to go a lot. I don't want to say a lot longer, but you've seen 80-year-old people still getting into the ring in Japan. So whenever a wrestler's able to go out on their own terms, like even if I don't know much about them, it gives you a chance to either go look up some of their best work, but also just appreciate the fact that they get to go out on their own terms, because we know a lot of our greats don't get that, and they didn't get that in American wrestling for whatever, for numerous amounts of reasons. So it was really cool. It's always cool to watch them do that, because New Japan's always been good at that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Takeshita defeated Kushida. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Henchicero. El Desperado defeated Taji Ishimori for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Well, that was on the line. And it's good stuff. But the road to new beginning. ELP defended his TV title versus Jeff Cobb in a fun match that saw Jeff carry ELP up the stairs and the champ balcony diving as well. And Ghetto translating was great. Also, the road to shows Gabe laid out Suji and Despy retained versus Koji Fujita in a great match. And Monty, again, it's the junior heavyweight. I mean, Despy, we worried what was going to happen after Doki, and he kind of carrying it on with just these bangers of matches.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's kind of a shame that what happened to Doki, because I just know how much that match meant to Despy and Doki for that matter. And who knows how that would have turned out. It probably would have ended up with Doki being able to defend his title, and maybe come out the other side over his brother in a sense. But Despy is he's one of those guys. When it's Taiji Ishimori, when it's Despy, when it's Hiromu, the junior heavyweight division is always in a great place with those guys. They know what to do. They've been champion before, and Despy is a little bit more extreme. He's one of those guys who's kind of at the peak of his powers right now, and I think him with the belt, I kind of always knew that was going to be safe and always going to be a great place for the division overall, because of how talented he is. Despy is, again, he's really carved out over the last few years. He went from like being always good, always reliable when he was in Suzuki-gun, to being possibly one of the greatest of all time, especially in the junior heavyweight division. And just the way he draws the crowd, the death matches he do every year. I mean, Despy has become an enigma in a sense,
Mm.
of his own type of making, and the division being under him and being wrapped around, challenging Despy is great, because whoever he gets in the ring with, it, whether it's the Fujita or Ishimori, and whoever he gets in the ring with, he's going to make them better if they're not proven, and if they are proven, they're going to go out there and cook.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, afterwards, Akira challenged him for the anniversary show. So there we go, another challenge. But before
Right.
that, we got new beginning February 11th. I promised Jack to Gina, we'll come back to you in a second. But first, Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Togi Makabe. Makabe was Tanahashi's first opponent.
Yeah.
Monty, and I thought this was quite a big fucking moment because, again, how often can you do that?
Yeah. I mean, again, this is one of those special things about Japanese professional wrestling. The fact that a guy like Makabe is still around, he was a world champion talent. I know, looking at him now and seeing him at this stage, a lot of fans may just look at him as just a guy, or a guy. He comes out with the chain, but Makabe was a big deal, man. Back when Tanahashi was, especially when he was just starting, he was world champion. He had cooking shows. he got the blonde hair, so people thought he was Guy Ferrari. I don't know if you guys know that guy, so but like he's big. He's a big deal in Japan, and Makabe is one of the best. So I love Makabe. He's nowhere near what he used to be, but to see him and Tanahashi just go out there and do what they do, even though it probably wasn't the most special matchup, it was a great moment, like you said, because how many people get a chance to wrestle a person that they wrestled their very first televised or just match in general with? It's insane when you really think about how long you have to kind of be around, and then also just it's one thing I will say. I'll talk about it probably a little bit more when we talk about Tanahashi later, but the farewell tour, nobody does it like New Japan, man.
Honestly, yeah, no, yeah, that is definitely something we're going to talk about. Up next, Driller Maloney defeated Shingo. I mean, I didn't recognise Maloney with a haircut, but he arrived in the heavyweight division, beating Shingo with the Driller Killer. Jaxie, we've seen, like I said, Driller Maloney, but he seems now, especially in New Japan, they kind of do this where they go from like the junior heavyweight into the heavyweight, and we can see that transformation, and he's taking it seriously as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really weird. I really remember, like, kind of like his personality and his overall, like, sort of like flamboyant, like, persona he had when he was teamed with Clark Connors. But I mean, going like sort of forward, like, this is a more serious look to Driller that we've not yet seen before, and I was definitely more intrigued to see like what's going to come out of him. He certainly commanded a bit more seriousness across the board, so I was intrigued by that.
We saw Greater Khan defeating Shooter Umino. Greater Khan went over strong, smashing him at the end. Khan grabbed the shaving equipment ready to shear Umino's head, but Umino grabbed it and did it himself before collapsing onto the mat. Gina, those luscious locks of Umino are gone, and he did it himself.
Yeah, I mean, I really wasn't expecting this because it's not like it was a stipulation for the match. Um, I was shocked. Like, part of me was thinking, has he lost it? Is this his way of telling us he's lost it, like mentally, you know?
Oh, I
So I
thought you said
wasn't
receding
expecting.
hairline or something.
Yeah, maybe he had a bold patch coming through, and he was like, "I'm not being a John Cena. I'm getting rid of it."
Yeah, but I think it speaks more about Umino's kind of mental state as well, isn't it? Not sure kind of where he stands at
Definitely.
this moment.
Definitely. It really made me question, like, okay, his mental state might have just cracked and he's just like, screw this. I'm shaving everything. It just shows like how big of an impact in the losses that he's taken has had on him.
Right now, Sonada defeated Tai Chi. Tai Chi brought the fire, but Sonada cheated to win. It's not over between the two, but Uemura returned from injury to help his stable. He called Sonada his stepping stone. Monty, that wasn't. Sonada didn't take that well.
I mean, as he should, I mean, Uemura was a guy who was not only a young lion, but like again, this is a world champion you're talking to, like that means something. Especially in New Japan, they really put stock in the people that they put at the top. So, for a guy like him who's still as good as he seemed to be potentially, still hasn't proved a lot yet, quite yet. And so, for him to say that to Sonata, he definitely did not take that lightly. But at the same time, uh, Sonata is kind of like Shota in the sense where they kind of moving aimlessly in a sense. So it doesn't really shock me. But it is kind of cool though for you and more because it feel like again kind of like the theme of this current era of New Japan. We're trying to we got these guys who are established. We're going to use these guys in their established name to help further along some of this other talent. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. And quick thing about Shota Umino too about the hair, shaving the hair. It's also a kind of like a fresh start type of deal because like I mentioned, Shota, we talked about it last show. He's been aimless, and a lot of people, again with the hair color he had, that was kind of like Naito, but the style was kind of like young Tanahashi. He's like he's truly not. People truly don't know who he is, even in Japan. That's kind of a thing about Shota Umino. So I think this is more so symbolizing a fresh start, also along with his confidence being completely broken. But yeah, man, you were more coming in and saying that about Sonata. I think just kind of is a great way of just kind of showing what his intentions are going forward right now. He wants to surpass Sonata.
Yeah, without a doubt. Up next, Ichiban Sweet Boys, Robbie Egos, because he's Vegeta, defeated Chaos, Rocky Romero, and Yo for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. Yo has straight up been my MVP recently. He's been ringing Rocky after every Row 2 show on the kind of old dial, you know, the old phones that you've got, just trying to speak to his partner. Afterwards, looked like Ishimori and Robbie X will challenge next. Hope I don't confuse my Robbies. Then we had Takeshita defeating Bolton Oleg for retaining the Never Openweight Championship. Oleg's superplex shook the arena, and the forearm exchange. I mean, it was like King Kong and Godzilla, really. I mean, Jaxie, I don't think Takeshita can have a bad match, considering what Bolton, you know, has been on main roster for maybe a year.
Yeah. I mean, even so, again, like Takeshita always ends up making his opponents look great in the ring, you know. And this was just a great match between the two of them. I could see these guys going for like about a three, and I think they pull off really well. Oleg did some like sort of really outstanding moments, and again, like that suplex was one of them. So it was just a great moment for both of them. But again, Takeshita right now can do no wrong.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Oil wants to Takeshita next. That will be interesting. We then get Los Ingobernables, Naito, and Takahashi defeating the Young Bucks. Of course, Matt and Nick Jackson for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. I mean, the Bucks tag reign was as good as Nemeth's reign, I guess, you know. I guess Naito deserves a rest in tags. I mean, Gina, were you surprised the Bucks just dropped the titles basically in the next big show?
Yeah, I actually was shocked by this. I didn't see it coming. I expected them to get the win here. So I was quite shocked at them losing. Not sure whether that kind of indicates like them looking to return to AEW TV and they just wanted a quick short run of the New Japan ones, or whether there's still a bigger picture for them later down the line. I don't know, but either way, I was really shocked. So I'm sure loads of others were too.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then we had Yota Tsuji and Gabe Kidd, which ended in a draw. I mean, these two have been accepted, like we said, as the next in line for New Japan, not by management, but by the fans as well. Monty, like I said, this is the future if Tony can keep his grubby hands off both of them, you know?
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about Suji because as much as I probably would be about Gabe sooner than later. But because Suji came up in the system, he got a lot of goals that he would like to achieve. So in New Japan first. Now, if he was a little bit later in his career, maybe. But yeah, this was fantastic, man. One of the best matches they've done all year. Just I think it's genius, especially like you guys mentioned after the Dynasty and then Wrestle Kingdom. Those two they were vital parts of two of the best matches of those two of January 4th and 5th. With Gabe, of course, and Omega, and then of course Yota Tsuji with Dave Finlay. So putting them together, I thought was genius because they were on a roll. The two, like you said, two guys who were on the rise, and then to not have Suji or whoever come out on top vehemently and have it be a double KO is just one of those badass decisions that I've ever really seen people make, because sometimes when you book these matches and you do it early, a lot of times you tend to just go ahead, well, we want the champion to retain and whatever, and then Gabe can look good in defeat. But in this case, they were like, you know what, their momentum right now is so we don't want to mess up anybody's momentum. Let's just look like these two guys just took each other out in a sense, and it worked perfectly if you ask me. This was again one of the best matches they've had all year, and one that if I was just telling someone to check out New Japan currently, I would tell people to check out for this fight, because not only, like you mentioned, James, this is the future. These guys will be hopefully on top of New Japan for years to come. And But this is also like I think this may be just the first iteration of something that could be a special rivalry going forward. Maybe even potential. I saw people flirting this out there, especially in the New Japan Discord. I don't know that. I don't say this shit that fast, but that's what they do. I'm talking about Okada and maybe the next Okada and Omega. All right, hold your horses, kids. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But definitely has the potential to be that great next foreigner and native feud in New Japan for years to come.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, like we saw, and it's interesting, isn't it, Jaxie, especially with Suji, he seems to be getting better every match and the building the presence, and even the hat with the entrance now, switched his trunks, which of course I appreciate, So he's
Mm.
redefining his look.
He really is, and like his overall like confidence that he exudes, even when sort of entering, it's just kind of like it's exuding like champion, and like the confidence that he has so far is really kind of meshing well with like what he's doing. So I like what he's doing. I like the way that he's being presented, and in the ring as well. He's just kind of showcased himself better and better.
And Gina, one of his slaps had the force of God, like rocking Gabe. But Gabe's a madman, so he probably loved it.
Oh, for sure. I definitely, some of the notes that I have here, the first thing is Slapfest. So like a lot of mind games in this match, but it was so good and I really enjoyed seeing both of them. So yeah, one of my favorite on the match card.
The whole House of Torture emerged, attacking Suji, and then Kid, Evil, and Dick Togo made a surprise appearance, seemingly to defend Suji and Kid for striking both. Evil then declared that the House of Torture would no longer be affiliated with the War Dogs moving forward. As Evil saw it, House of Torture kicked the War Dogs out of Bullet Club. Clark Connors on commentary met the same fate as Kid and Suji. Monty, what is going on? Because I only learnt recently the House of Torture were actually a part of Bullet Club. Never knew that.
You didn't?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't. I just thought they
Come
were like
on,
a little
man.
group, and then I looked
No,
in.
no. It was
But
Bullet Club House of Torture. They used to be like a chapter, but yeah, no, they always kind of, I get it though, the way they're presented. They do their own thing and they cheat a hell of a lot more than even the regular even. But yeah, when Jay White was there, they were kind of when Evil first turned, he turned and took a Bullet Club shirt. It was one of those things. But then Evil took his own, he like made a branch of it. Think about like NWO Wolfpack in a sense, except these guys are way, way worse when it comes to just their tactics. They're not trying to be cool. The Wolfpack seemed like they were trying to be cool, but yeah. So yeah, no, their branch. It was a family, so to speak. I'll say it that way. They were a family, but they always kind of did their own thing.
no, that makes sense. So then the main event, Hiroki Goto defeated Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, ninth time lucky here. But this was a hell of a match. And again, Jackson, maybe a little bit disappointed that Zack Sabre Jr.'s reign didn't really last that much longer than it should. If that made any sense.
I was slightly disappointed by that, but not mad at the fact that he lost it to someone like Goto because still think it was a brilliant match. It's just a bit gutting because I feel like I'm not sure like what the sort of drive or the story going forward for Zach would be at this point because I really did think once he had like won that belt, he was probably going to be one of the sort of longer reign title holders. That's what I had imagined, especially after losing the likes of like both Will Ospreay and Jay White. I thought, like I thought TMDK might like start kind of growing in terms of like the what the group give off compared to like the groups of like Bullet Club and United Empire. So I was slightly disappointed for Zach, and I'm still kind of slightly confused where creatively he's going at this point or the group. But yeah, still not disappointed with Goto picking up the win. I feel like, he probably does deserve a singles titles run. He's done excellent with like, the tag team division. So I was really intrigued to see him pick up the win and see, what he can do on a singles run.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting, Gene, I don't know if you noticed this, because of course we picked it up from like post-COVID New Japan. And I think this might have been the biggest reaction we've seen from a crowd because the fans lost their minds at this.
They did, and it was really nice to see because again, I don't watch it that often, and the shock of I think especially because I know that the Bucks lost their belts in a way. For me, I was like, okay, so I feel like Zach will retain here, so that even felt more of an impact and a shock, but a great shock for obviously the fans because they erupted for Goto, So it was a really feel good moment to see how happy they all were for him.
Yeah, without doubt. The Neverman finally did it, Monty. So what did it mean for someone who's been watching New Japan a little bit longer than us?
Yeah, man. Like, because the reason why they erupted is because, like I said, this catchphrase was always you put the G in G1 stands for Goto because he's won the G1 multiple times, but he always lost that finals. He always lost that title match. Like he didn't win the G1, but he'd get to the G1 finals because he would always have some of the best matches in G1. And then he would get to the finals and then he'll lose to like a Tanahashi or he'll lose to Okada or he would never be able, or if he get a title match, he would never be able to get over the hump in the title match. I remember when Naito was world champion, his first run, Goto was one of the first people who challenged him, and Goto, excellent fight once again. Of course, he got screwed by like a debuting Evil, I believe it was, or something like that. But yeah, so Goto always just one of those guys who came up short. Like he was in these now. And you got to think about where we are now in 2025. He's entering his 40s. Like you guys mentioned, he was great tag team champion, always a great tag team champion, one of the greatest never open weight champions of all time. He kind of was synonymous with that belt along with a guy like Ishii, but never was able to get the big belt. He was one of those guys who done everything except that. So kind of think about it that way. Think about it like a guy who's done it all. One of the greatest, loyal to just one of the greatest at like when it comes from a match by match basis. Like again, he's like AJ. A lot of AJ Styles moveset post coming to Japan. Some of that stuff, like the Yushi and all that, that's Goto. That's all Goto created that. You know what I mean? So like Goto is one of the greatest. Like people who watch wrestling and watch New Japan know when it comes to working, no one can like Goto is one of those guys who's always been at the top of the list, even if he's never been the champion. So when he finally was able to get over the hump and finally was able to beat, even if it was a guy that they also like and respect in Zach. But it's a little bit different. You know, as much as we like and respect you and saw how far you came when you became champion, when you watch a guy like Goto come close for so long in many different incarnations, whether it was before he joined Chaos or when he was teaming with Shibata, when he went through all the things he went through, everybody know what his kids mean to him and how he always wanted to become world champion for his child, for his son to see and all of that. It was just it's incredible. It's just incredible. The people have come to grow up and know Goto, so they kind of felt they all won with him. If you see what I'm trying to say, and I think everybody who's been a long time New Japan fan, I just thought it was special. Like at the end of the day, I get it. I kind of was one of those guys who when I knew that he would earn the shot at Wrestle Kingdom, and I said he would be fighting Zach. I was like, well, we'll see. He probably do like he always do and come close, give us a 4.5-star match, and then lose. But no, he finally was able to complete it. You know, kind of. Hey, I hate to steal Cody's phrase, but this is truly one of those finish the story type of deals. Legitimately right here. So it was special, and it showed in ticket sales. It showed in just the way the people of Japan just kind of flocked to the New Japan product because they couldn't believe that Goto finally did it. So it was one of those things that ended up being a very it would seem like a gamble when you think about it, but it ended up paying off immediately.
Yeah, really good stuff. He thanked the fans and his family, announced he would like to give Tanahashi a match at the anniversary event, and Yuji Nagata approached Goto wanting to be the next challenger after Tanahashi. And this show was so much better than Wrestle Kingdom Jaxie, wasn't it? You know, I mean, even if you put Dynasty there as well, I think this show is better on paper. You know, maybe the Bucks match was maybe a little bit let down, but still the result.
Yeah, like I still think that there was like more highs that came out of this event than lows, for sure. I think the Bucks match was probably like one of the ones that was definitely on the lower aspect of it, but overall, I still think the outcome did what it needed to do, you know?
Yeah, without doubt, you know, like we saw, a lot of things changed there as well. Really, really good stuff. So on to the 53rd anniversary show, March 6th, El Desperado defeated Francisco Akira. The main event, Hiroki Goto defended against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Monty, couple of really good matches on the anniversary show.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is what the show is all about. I must say that it was also one of the best crowds that they was able to kind of get to, at least from an energy standpoint with that main event. If it's one thing, like I said, I mentioned how they kind of they give you farewell tours incredibly. They also just respect their long time, stars in a special way. And like for Tanahashi to be 48 and Goto to, be I think 45 or whatever, they fought over like 15, almost 15 or so times, and Goto has not won many of those times. So to see him and Tanahashi go out there, and even at this stage of their career, that was one of the best Tanahashi performances that he's been able to give. And that's kind of what the greats are able to do. They may not be able to do it consistently anymore, but when it all said and done, especially with people they have a special chemistry with, like I said, Tanahashi has with Goto, and like I just mentioned, many of those failures in the past was to Tanahashi. So the fact that Goto was able to kind of right that here, even at this stage of their career, and Goto again he don't fight like he's 45. He fight like he's 25 still, and he brought it here. And this is, like you said, a very special anniversary show. Same thing with Desperado and Akira. Incredible match from Akira there. Probably the better match of the two. And I think Akira, again, like I mentioned earlier, Desperado right now seem to be in the business of making stars out of some of these rising stars in the junior heavyweight division, because like I mentioned, besides Hiromu and Ishimori and Despy, they're kind of like at the top tier. So you got to kind of bring, at least from a feeling or a standing standpoint in the junior division, got to bring the rest of these guys kind of up there. And that's what I feel like he did with a match like this with Akira, because I don't see how you can watch that match and not be like, that Francisco Sesko Akira can be special for New Japan if they, again, another situation where it's like if Tony or if New Japan can actually keep him signed. That's the thing about a lot of this talent. Can New Japan keep these guys under the banner? But Despy, again, another spectacular performance. And like, again, I think, again, it's one of those situations. Like, maybe some people were still in shock for Goto having that spot over Zach. But when you go down and you give a match like that made the people feel the way they felt at the anniversary show, it just, again, it was one of those things that kind of reverberated the energy of, we are really on the right track right now with Goto being world champion.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we move on to the New Japan Cup. Of course, I'll fill in the blank, so to speak, when I do the pod. Fine, at some point in time, I will do it. Don't worry about that. I've still got 2024 and 2023 to do, actually. But last year's winner, Tsuji, was upset by Evil in the opening rounds. And Gina, I mean, I don't know what's worse, Evil beating Tsuji or the amount of title matches that we're going to get because of this now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy, but the thing is, the Evil and Tsuji feud has been one of the highlights of this whole cup, to be fair. So it definitely sparked like a butterfly effect for sure.
Well, we get on to the quarterfinals then. We start off with Shingo defeating Driller, Maloney, Via Burning Dragon. This was really fun, and Drill's had his own as a heavyweight, as we've spoken about. We then saw quarterfinal Shooter Umino defeating Jeff Cobb via the second chapter. He will face Shingo in the semi-finals. I mean, Jaxie, it's no real surprise, really. I mean, considering the rumours that we've heard about Jeff Cobb leaving, I don't know if you've heard about them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I looked at this more like, is this like the sort of aggressive style we're going to get from Shota going forward? So I think this kind of did both wrestlers a favor, especially if the rumors are true about Jeff Cobb. And, getting a win for Shoto after doing kind of like the dramatics with the hair, just kind of starts commanding the attention of eyes again, to Shota, and like, what's to come from this sudden change in attitude and appearance,
Yeah, without a doubt. The other quarterfinal as well was David Finlay defeating Yura Mora. That's another attack Yura afters, and they, of course, acted like heels. But Gina, did you know David Finlay was still there? Because he disappeared, and then he pops up, and then all of a sudden he's in the quarterfinal winning it, the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with it's a lot to take in when you don't watch Japan on the regular. So for me, I kind of was just going with it, but it did feel like he just popped up out of nowhere.
No, he did.
In
He
that
did
spot.
pop up, yeah.
Had to get that contract signed.
Yeah, to be fair. The other quarterfinal as well was Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Tai Chi via European clutch, who will face Finley in the semis. This was really good stuff and no real surprise when it came to these two. Monty, I'll get you to talk about that and also about Hiroki Goto defeating Yuji Nagata in the main event, and he is still champion. But is it me, or is Goto's reign the complete opposite of like Sanada's, as in being a champion and stepping up
Yeah.
as the man? I don't know about that. I might be wrong.
I mean, no, it was. It is like it's not even just him. I mean, even like Naito's last run, and I mean, of course, Zach didn't really get much time. So, but yeah, so like, yeah, this is one of the best reigns they've had in a while. And a lot of that has to do with, like you mentioned, not only Goto stepping up, but it's also just like I think a lot of people, I think morale is high too, in a sense, when it comes to having a guy like Goto in there. When you have one of those consummate professional, and like, one of those guys who's always, he had no problem putting over anybody over the years, as like I mentioned. So for a guy like him to be on top of the company, and for people to be paying to see and buying merch and doing all that for a guy like Goto, it then is bringing, like, you can tell Yuji Nagata was fighting with a fire here that he hasn't fought with in a while. And he's, that's a guy who's even older than what I mentioned with Tanahashi and Goto. And Yuji is just one of those guys, him and Kojima, for some reason. I don't know what they're doing. I really need to go study, like, what are they doing late in life to still have that much energy because I'm 30 and I'm almost 30 and I don't have that type of energy that they're showing in their 50s. But yeah, man, this was incredible. Like you said, to get that amount of effort, and I think a lot of it has to do with, like I mentioned earlier, just morale and just feeling good to be in the ring with a guy like Goto in that spot at that level. And then, like, again, like you mentioned, Goto stepping up and bringing it every single time because he knows what it means and how much it probably means to him to be a world champion at this point. And then the same thing can be said for, like, with Zach and Tai Chi. The chemistry there is just immense. Like, Itachi is one of those guys that he matches the energy you bring. If his opponent is one of those guys who may not bring it or can't bring it anymore, then Itachi may not give you the most interesting thing. But you see, with a guy like Zach, somebody he respects and loves, they're really cool like that. Tai Chi and Zach, great, incredible tag team, and also incredible opponent. So, like you mentioned, not really a surprise there. That's why they got almost 30 minutes to go there and tell a story, because Tachi and Zach have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, but also, just like I said, great chemistry, whether they're partners or not. So, yeah, man, it was a great way to close out the quarterfinals right there with Zach and Tachi.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we're going to move on to the Cup semi and of course, the finals. But first up, semi-finals, March 16th. I do enjoy the multi-man tag matches between groups on the undercard. On this one, it actually had a fun 10-man tag team match with House of Torture involved against the Bullet Club. Usually these matches end in a count-out, but this one actually had a finish. Unfortunately, it was Evil winning. Semi-final match then for the 2025 New Japan Cup. David Finlay defeated Zack Sabre Jr. via the overkill in just over 20 minutes. I mean, Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? Because I thought it was going to go the other way. I don't know about you.
Sorry, which match? Which match?
Finlay beating Sabre in the semis.
Oh yeah, again, I think this kind of goes back to the point that I originally made about, like, sort of like the decision to take the belt off of Zach, and just kind of curious as to where things are going to go for him. Because I'm not sure I would call this a surprising loss, because I think obviously with what David Finlay is doing at the moment and everything, there's argument for, like, obviously him picking up the win as well. But again, this is like another great loss for Zach, and at this point it's like, is this going to wear down on his confidence? Where does this leave him with, like, what he's gonna do going forward this year? So yeah, just real question marks around Zach and his current state within New Japan.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then March 17th, the second semi-final, with Shota Umino defeating Shingo via the second chapter. Umino left the ring area without making any post-match comments. However, Finlay and Gedo hit the ring afterwards, and Gedo encouraged Umino to come back. Umino returned briefly and told Finlay that he will beat him in the finals before leaving again. Gina, I don't know if Umino's playing a character or he's just a miserable bastard, you know, just to walk away with no comments at the end.
Yeah, I think he's definitely throwing a strop, from the shaved head and then to this. It's just I think it's just really he's really showing his mentality, just breaking down. His losses are really showing that they're hitting him hard. And in a way he's throwing a strop like a child.
Mm.
That's how it
Yeah.
feels.
The press conference wasn't subtitled, but I can tell you what Finn said. He called Shooter a Nepo baby and getting opportunities he shouldn't. Shota said he didn't want a first round bye. He didn't say much, but it looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. I mean, how much of this is actually real, Monty, when it comes through Minnow? You know, having that pressure of trying to break out and trying to be that next big star.
This legitimate. It's a lot of legitimate stuff there going on. I mean, the people have not taken to him, or they're almost, some of them are almost just straight up rejecting them, and a lot of it, like I mentioned earlier, has a lot to do with the lack of identity, and some of it is, and I think it really started, honestly. The real life element to me is the whole Musketeers announcement. People may not remember that, but when New Japan themselves announced him and I think Suji and I think Ren was the other one. That's like the new three Musketeers. Like, you kind of can see they all took to that completely differently. If you see what I'm trying to say, like Ren went crazy earlier and just joined House of Torture and was like, "Screw what you think of me. I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do." And Suji has also said screw it, but in the coolest way possible, and but also living up to it. And then Shota Umino tried to lean into it, tried to be, like I mentioned, Tanahashi tried to be the guy, but he hasn't really earned it. He seemed to be, even at this point, you can say like you just mentioned, the company kind of, and I think some of this is by design and some of it is just fact, but some of it is by design. You give Shota Umino a first round bye. What has he done to earn a first round bye in New Japan? Nothing. So, like, even a guy like Finlay, who is also a Nepo baby, like, that's why I'm saying, people bring up, like, for example, people bring up Charlotte as a Nepo baby. Randy Orton is a Nepo baby. No one talks about Cowboy Bob Orton. Maybe it's because they too old. Maybe he's way too old for people to remember. And Ric Flair just won't go away. But, like, people don't bring up some of these angles for the people they like. And that's my point. So when people don't like you and then, like, people think you're getting things handed to you, they're gonna say you're a Nepo baby. Shota Umino, why are you getting the first round bye? You haven't done anything to earn it. And some of that is real. Like, at the end of the day, people who join an industry that their parents were prominent in or legendary in, they have to deal with that. That is, I don't care how much we can say it's just a role on a show. That is legitimate stuff, legitimate criticism. So when you have some of that leaking, when you have the crowd, at first they were booing, which is fine. You can take that even though you're trying to be a face. But now some of it is just apathy. So now they're just not saying anything. Or sometimes they're booing, and some people just don't care whatever he does, even with the shaving the hair and humbling yourself and stuff he's trying to do. So a lot of it is like New Japan. Like I said, I still say this: the best at blurring lines between what we can perceive as legitimate and what they're doing to set up angles. So yeah, man, I think this is all a part of the arc they're trying to build for Shota. And even if, I don't know if we're even talking about Sakura Genesis, but it's continuing with Shota Umino when it comes to constantly being put in a spot to where they're gonna force this. Like, y'all thought Roman Reigns type of stuff. Like, that's what it's starting to feel like for some fans who may not like Shota in that way. This is Roman Reigns type of, we're gonna force this guy on you, and we don't, even though we don't want it.
Yeah, without a doubt, completely agree with that. Now we'll do Genesis on the next New Japan catch-up even, and the final March 20th of the New Japan Cup. Before that, we got television title match: El Fantasmo defeating TJP. Great Khan was with TJP, so we actually had no idea who it would be, and it was nicely done. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Satoshi Kojima via high five flow. And Jack, I'll ask you this because again, Tanahashi, obviously, we know who's retiring. Retirement years, last event will be Wrestle Kingdom. But compare how many times I've said Tanahashi in action on this podcast compared to maybe John Cena's
Exactly.
reign. I mean, are you surprised Tanahashi is literally wrestling every event he can?
Um, actually, I did kind of make this sort of observation of like how much he's been wrestling lately, and just kind of like I now that you kind of compare it to John Cena, I'm like, yeah, Tanahashi's doing quite a lot, Um, but like it's actually quite impressive at how much he can keep up because again, with what we're like kind of discussing, this is going on over a matter of days. And like I think Monty even pointed out before, like guys within their 50s onwards are literally they've got more stamina than even I care to admit I don't have. So it's very impressive that Tanahashi is kind of keeping up with this and also still looking incredibly impressive against, sort of the younger division.
Yeah, I don't want to sound silly, but it looks like he's getting better with the amount of action he's getting as well. Like, I don't know if that's possible, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot of worse wrestlers around at this moment in time, kind of not in the position he is. But Monty, is this something they do again in New Japan, or is Tanahashi getting a kind of special treatment? Because we
Well,
did have something like that from Muto, didn't we? Like a couple of.
yeah, you got a little bit of that from Muto. Liger, Juice Thunder Liger got a little bit of that, but he was a little bit less. He was way more. He did like basically an angle with Minoru Suzuki. He didn't do much of basically wrestling everybody he possibly could. So Tanahashi is definitely getting a lot more of it, but it makes sense. Like I mentioned, Tanahashi saved this company. He is their ace. He is he's gonna be one of those Mount Rushmore guys. It's not really is you're gonna have a Noki. Maybe you can have, again like you mentioned, a Mudo, or it's a couple. It's really tough. They got a lot of legends over there, but like Tanahashi for his era, 100% is gonna be there. So uh, they're definitely doing it, and of course he's the president, so he probably has a lot more say in this too, also. But yeah, man, he's going out. This is my point. I'm not mad at the John Cena thing. I get it. He's filming or whatever. I'm just saying they market it. They're selling a bunch of T-shirts everywhere they go for farewell tour, and it's just like he comes out, he does a promo. He's not wrestling the future. He's not really wrestling anybody so far of the past when we're almost 10 months away for when it's over for Cena. So I'm just like, I don't know exactly what we're gonna get over the next 9 months, and I'm not complaining. I'm grateful because I get it, but I'm just saying when you compare an actual farewell tour, Tanahashi's hitting all of the cities. He's doing all of the tag matches. He's doing matches against guys he looked up to, and he's doing matches against guys who looked up to him. You can't ask for much more than that on a guy who's never going to wrestle again after this year. So yeah, like I said, they always show respect and they do like special matches here and there or angles, but this is definitely the most that since I've been watching, I've seen them do for a retiring wrestler, and it just makes sense because, like I said, he is the ace.
Yeah, no, it's been really good stuff. Non-title match, Bullet Club War Dogs defeated the Never Openweight six-man tag team champions House of Torture. I mean, I love Ishimori and War Dogs, but Chase needs to kind of do one. There's no doubt about that. But Gina, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the War Dogs, they are so kind of heelish, but obviously they're the kind of baby faces now. But we don't need to change, do they? They just need to be the same. Because if they start turning, then we know how bland some faces can get.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. I'm not gonna lie, I've got a note here saying Chase Owens looks like my nan. Um, Honestly, I couldn't get over it. I think like there was just a moment and a shot that he just looked eerily similar. So I find that hilarious. But no, I did enjoy this match, but a part of me was thinking, wait, who are the faces and who are the heels of this match? It was slightly confusing because I did find that I wasn't cheering for Chase.
We saw the leader Takahashi accepting Koma Newman's challenge for the tag titles at Genesis. Monty, am I saying this right? Tendario. No, I'm not saying it right, am I? What is it? Tendario. No, Tendario. I can't do it. I've had a stroke.
I'm just gonna keep letting you do it because it's just funnier that way. To be honest,
Tendario. Is that it?
Yes, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
am.
funny to watch you try, but you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we love Tendario. There you go. That's what it's about. What is it? I don't know. It's double clothesline, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yes, the double clothesline. Legitimately, again, this is the funniest thing about it. This is what I say, and somebody made it. One of my favorite Naito fans, who I talk to all the time, made a great point. They are a comedy tag team, but the comedy is just for them, and we're gonna leave it at that. Like, they're funny just for each other. They're not trying to be funny for everyone else, but that's why they're beating people and doing that's yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and again, trouble with TMDK losing to Hiroki Goto, Despy, and Bolton Oleg. I suppose it's not a bad team to lose to, but I'm still not sure what's going on there. And then the finals of the 2025 New Japan Cup, David Finlay defeated Shota Umino via the overkill. Finn then told Shota afterwards if he wants to win, he has to be like him. He'll go to the ring and said he'll be the rebel with the revolution. I mean, Jack, so you talk about this. I mean, I was not expecting this result. I didn't even think Finlay was still around, and yet fucking pops up and wins the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, this was a shock, but I mean, this match, I really enjoyed this match. It was so good, and there were like so many different counters and near full moments that I was kind of like really undecisive on who was going to pick up the win here. But I think like the commentators actually said at one point that Finlay hadn't yet won this New Japan Cup. Is that correct? So that's
Yeah.
like his first time,
Yeah,
right?
he's never won. Yeah, he's never
Yeah,
won.
Yeah.
yeah. So, like I feel like they definitely have got like big plans for Finlay, and I think that this match really just kind of showcased what he could do. So, um, like I was very kind of excited and intrigued of him picking up the win here.
I mean, like I said, I was really surprised Finn won, but he was a finalist 2 years ago, and last year had a dropout due to injury. I mean, Gina, the thing is, these aren't the main guys, but we need more than just Suji and Gabe. I think that's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Again, because I don't watch it as often and more regular. For me, I just saw it for what it was. But with you guys even discussing this is kind of pointing it out to me and making me more aware of this, you know?
And Umino hit a hell of a knee to Finn. That knee, fuck me, even I felt that.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all heard that. It sounded
Yeah,
like
that
it
was
echoed
really
across
hard.
the whole
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
But like I said, it's interesting. I mean, every time I see Finn, I turn to JR and Beyond the Mat saying, you need to work on your body, upper body, kid, a little bit more. But I mean, Monty, this is difficult because like we spoke about with Shota, he's in a position where I noticed the crowd maybe not reacting, which is a death sentence for a wrestler,
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's in a rough spot. And the funniest thing about it, this is one of the best matches he's ever had right here, just from a wrestling standpoint. So, again, I think a lot of that has to do with the situation he's been put in. But it also, like they say, he's gonna have to adapt. He's gonna have to find himself. I'm not gonna tell the Naito story for the 100th time, but Naito had to find himself. Tanahashi, he was a little too handsome. I don't think he had to find much at the time. But yeah, you kind of got to find yourself a lot of times and switch it up. Okada was a natural disaster. Like, he just kind of sweep through and beat everybody. So he was also an anomaly. So, but some people have to find themselves. We just talked about Goto. Like, look at Goto finally reading his maximum potential. And I think Umino at this point has been put in situations where they feel like they're trying to. Instead of it being a natural, like, oh my God, Suji is a star, it feels like we're gonna no, Shota's a star, and you better pay attention. Watch, guys, and you better watch him. And then people are looking at him like, what's so special about him? Or, man, all right, well, we get it. Whatever, he's okay. You move on. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's in a tough spot right now. You never want them to get in that, like you said, the stage I just mentioned of just like not caring. You want them to either hate you because you're being forced on me, or you want them to love you because of your talent and all of that. So it's one of them situations where it's like we're gonna have to see as time goes on. Like I mentioned, going forward, they seem to continue it. Maybe he leans into it. Maybe you finally embrace a little bit of this negative, a lot more of the negativity, and instead of going crazy in the Ren the Reader way, you lean into the fact that the company seems to favor you or something. I don't know. I'm just saying it'd be a different, maybe you lean into the fact that you make it seem like Tanahashi is doing this for you or doing this to you, and you attack Tanahashi on this farewell tour. There's so many different ways you can go and try to give him something to latch on to. So I'm excited to see if they decide to do that. But as far as Dave Finlay go, Dave Finlay has been one of the, if not the best wrestler from a match by match, angle by angle basis, pretty much since he won the triple threat match last year. You know what I mean? At Wrestle Kingdom. And I know the big cage match hurt him and everybody else, but even through all of that, he's been solid. He's been consistent. He's been great, and it was incredible in my opinion, especially when I heard his contract was up. I'm not sure if he actually signed a long extension for New Japan, but I did read that he could be in a stable position right now for New Japan. Of course, when you book him to do that, you would expect them to at least have him ironed out. But Finley's been one of my favorites for a long time. It's kind of crazy when I think about the happy-go-lucky guy that I met watching New Japan way back in 2016, 17 to the menace he's kind of become. But that fits. It's his style. If you know anything about his dad, you watch his dad, John. That's what they do. They're brutal. They're strong, and they're powerful, and they brawl. And I think that's what Finley brings to it. Like you mentioned, you have those guys like a Gabe Kidd. That's why Gabe Kidd is who he is. He fits that style that Finley wants. So eventually they might have to butt heads, but until then, I think this New Japan Cup victory and just his standing overall and beating a guy like Zack Sabre Jr. also to this way. You got to remember, he made Goto's kids cry. So he does have a reason. Like over the global belt, he made fun of them and made those kids cry after he beat Goto in front of them in the past. So Goto has a beef here. So I thought this was an excellent way to kind of reignite that, and also just an excellent way to give Finley what he always kind of deserved. He was second. He was always kind of second fiddle behind Juice Robinson when they were a tag team. People immediately threw him in Jay White's shadow when he took over the Bullet Club. So it's cool that he's finally, as time going on, and I've been watching a lot of New Japan fans that I see watching are really starting to gather that respect for a guy like Dave Finlay. So it's kind of funny. I mentioned that he's done what I feel like Shota has to do, and that is get out of these people they're comparing you to shadow, establish something for Shota Umino. So, and then people will start to respect what you do in the ring. And I think that's what happened for Dave Finlay. And look, you see where he was at by the end of this cup. So I thought it was a fantastic story, which, again, they love to tell stories through their tournaments. And I thought this is another one of those times where it's like, all right, Gato, all right, New Japan, you guys are back doing what I like.
Yeah, without a doubt. Jaxie, Monty pretty much. Excellent couple of points there. But, what were your thoughts on the kind of the New Japan Cup and New Japan, in its entirety, basically since we saw from the start of the year to this present point?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of disarray at the moment, like in terms of backstage and factions and like going forward, like what's in store for them, there's a lot that I'm kind of interested and intrigued to see develop even more, because as you said, House of Torture, everything, like the feud going on right now with Bullet Club is really interesting, and there is just pure hatred there. They're just kind of going for it, and there's like quite a few members within like Bullet Club and even the House of Torture that are just kind of really like carrying a lot of like the discussion at the moment. So I'm intrigued to see where things go for them. When it comes to factions like United Empire, I'm really intrigued to see who's going to kind of step up in a form of leadership, or whether or not things are going to fully break apart for them. It's exactly the same with TMDK. I wonder like what's got in store for them, for Zach for sure, going forward, and just what to expect from them as a group. So there's a lot of intrigue. I feel like there was a lot of chaos that came out of this World Cup, to be honest, and I'm kind of like intrigued to see the aftermath and what's to come from this.
Yeah, I mean, Monty, is there a reason why TMDK are kind of falling off a cliff? Is it contracts or what's?
Yeah, I'm not really sure in that regard, especially
I
the
was
tag
intrigued.
team. I mean, I know Mikey and I know they were dealing with injuries, so I know that for that regard, that's what kind of stopped them. Leading into through tag league and stuff, we were dealing with injuries. But as far as like the stuff with Zach and just the overall lack of direction there, I'm not sure exactly if it's anything other than just the focus right now. It seems to be in other places, but I'm not really sure. Like it'd be interesting to see as time goes on exactly what is going on there. If we see them possibly popping up somewhere else, but I don't know. I don't think it's that. I thought again. I knew it was a pretty tough injury uh injuries going on both Mikey and I don't know why the hell I'm is it what is he go by Shane Thorne again?
Shane,
Does he go by Shane
yeah, I
Thorne?
call him Shane Thorne. That's what I know.
Yeah, I still call him Shane Thorne. Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think, do he even still go by that? But anyway, yeah, or I can say Slapjack. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I know that Shane was dealing with some stuff, and Mikey had a slight thing, but other than that, man, like I said, the overall just lack of direction, at least from where they seem to be headed. They seem to be on a trajectory to be one of the strongest factions, along with the Ichiban Sweet Boys, on top with Zach being champion. But that's just not what they decided to do right now. And if I find out more, I mean, I guess I'll let you guys know. But as far as I know, it's just a little bit of injury, but other than that, they just decided to focus on like building up the War Dogs and doing other things. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Gina, what are your thoughts for New Japan this past couple of months, apart from Chase Owens looking like you now?
I mean, I've enjoyed it overall. Again, there were a lot of storylines that I wasn't so up to date on. So for me, listening to the commentary was catching me up on some of the feuds that were happening and some of the things that were happening. Because again, I think when you mentioned earlier, James, that you didn't realize that House of Torture were part of Bullet Club, I don't think I was aware of that either, you
Yeah.
know. But I am really intrigued to see kind of like what happens with Shota going forward and whether he's more gonna have a heelish persona or something. Um, I am intrigued to see where more other storylines go, but Shota definitely stood out a lot for me in this cut for sure. But I also really like Goto.
Well, I should say as well, actually, backstage after the New Japan Cup, Tanahashi consoled Shota and challenged him to a match at Genesis, and Umino didn't shake his hands. So, and Finn pointed out that he beat the Wrestle Kingdom main event back to back. So, I mean, that is impressive kind of in its own right there. But like I said, the next show we're going to follow will be Sakura Genesis, which was this weekend. So, and again, Dontaku, which is going to be big. And we're nearly there. But I mean, Monty, there has been interesting news about contracts. A lot of contracts coming up, and the interest was there's Naito's. You would think maybe they would kind of sign him down, but apparently he's a freelancer at the moment.
Yeah, he's good. He's free. He's able to do whatever he want to do right now. Still been working with New Japan, taking dates. I think if you've been wondering why new he's kind of taking a more laid back role. He's not even signed. Honestly, I still don't think he's completely healed from that eye surgery he had before Wrestle Kingdom, just so he can get that match done. I mean, think about it. He couldn't tell if the ground was flat or not just a few months ago. So it's crazy to believe that he's able to just see regularly all of a sudden. But yeah, man, I couldn't believe that either when I saw that he was just doing his thing, and I saw some people talking about, could he possibly do this or that. Naito, to me, I would be surprised. I think it's more like Despy. Despy is a guy who is also in a situation where he's signed, but he also goes wherever he wants to go in Japan for the most part and does death matches and do all types of stuff. So I don't know, man. Naito just seemed to be so laid back. Honestly, he hasn't. I don't know, man. Naito's the type of guy that is as great as he is and as much he's done. He reminds me of what Jericho said his retirement would be like a many years ago. I don't even know if that man even think about retirement now, but he said many years ago that he don't want a farewell tour, he don't want anything. He's just gonna go. He's just gonna disappear. what he said, and he just wouldn't. It'll be done out of nowhere. And I think that reminds me of the way Naito would most likely leave. He would just stop. He would just stop showing up. They would still be selling his merch or whatever, but he'd just leave, and he wouldn't. No announcement. But I do hope he at least could properly, even if it's not the greatest match. It'd be nice if he, depending on how he decides to end it, or if he signs back or whatever happens. I just want him to give Suji a proper like you're the guy now type of match, or Shingo. He do it with Shingo. I don't know. Pass the book again, but it'll be cool to just give Suji that, because I think we all can feel it that Suji, if they are, Suji will be that guy represent, whether he's representing Lij or he turns it into his own thing. We know that Suji is definitely the future in that group. But yeah, man, it was definitely shocking to find that out. But honestly, same thing with like Kevin Knight, New Japan and contracts. I don't know. Bro, they need a new negotiator. They need to talk to Tony or Triple H is negotiating better at this point. We need to talk to some Nick Khan, because everybody claims Nick Khan be the guy calling these people. We need to talk to people, okay? Because New Japan is just, they're negotiating at this point is in the dumpster, bro.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not been good. But again, Monty, you're in a better place now than you were. I feel more positivity coming from you from New Japan.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble on this live, especially with our fan base and you guys. But you see what happened when you get rid of the UK guy as champion? You see how much better things. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Anyway, no, but again, a lot of that has to do with just the moment with Goto and having him on top, and they're just making overall better, more interesting decisions. Even though Sonata has been in 16 factions in 2 years, I'm enjoying the ride when it comes to what's going on with a lot of people, and even with Shota. Like I'm never really. I came into watching New Japan full time after Naito went through his kind of situation. He was already the guy that I kind of fell in love with and became my favorite wrestler. So to watch a guy like Shota go on this journey and go through this little period where it seems like nothing is working out, it'll be interesting to see how he comes out of it, because again, you could either go that way or you could end up being a guy who never really grasp or reach your potential. And so it'd be really interesting to see what happens in that regard. And then, like you said, you got the Gabe kids, you have the Sujis to be excited about, and I love House of Torture, even if everybody hates them, I love them. So yeah, man. I mean, then again, Dave Finley. So we got a lot of things to be optimistic about, even though I still think we have, definitely some flaws. And then we got Tanahashi's farewell tour. I'm still crossing my fingers that Shinsuke will be allowed to do something for Tana, but I don't know if we ever. I mean, he's not doing anything for WWE, so why the hell not Triple H? Just let him go. You guys won't book him.
Yeah, it's true.
Why
It's
not?
true. So that is basically it for New Japan. Jackson, anything else New Japan related?
I don't think so from me. I mean, I'm looking forward to Suji and what he's going to keep doing and with going forward. Hope he has like a successfully long reign, or soon to be. So we'll see.
We shall see. I mean, we have got a little bit of time. I don't want to just spring this on anybody. But before we go, we could, because it is AEW Dynasty tonight, we could always do predictions quickly. Because we got to do them at some point.
Crap, is it tonight?
Yeah, it's tonight. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's tonight.
Wait, because I haven't even watched Dynamite yet.
We got to give him though. You got to do him. You've literally got like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's about to be off because it started early. It's starting early, right?
Yeah,
It's starting a little early. Crap.
I mean, can I quickly can I get through Dynamite real quick?
I don't know. You'll be pushing it.
Well, if we come off the pod right now, I can chuck it on. Yeah, exactly. We got time. I just don't want to make a decision. No, I don't want to make a rash judgment not having seen the go home show. Please.
Well, all right. It's going to be
the group. My predictions the moment that I've done it. I'll get on it right now.
All right. So, all right, fine. So It's going to be a short pod then, but I'm sure everybody's going to be happy the girls get to watch Dynamite.
Thank
But
you.
of course, so that is it then for New Japan. Don't forget, across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast, I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you find the entire WNR team on the banner, also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, at my Monty Pod on Twitter.
Nice and easy. Jaxie?
I'm on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Gina?
I'm on the same at Purple Pain.
And the Dublin also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at dublinpodcast@gmail.com and YouTube. The Dublin Podcast are celebrating 10 years on YouTube. We thank you very much for subscribing and viewing all the content that we have put up there. And of course, podcast got the same time on YouTube to do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. That is it. Our next episode is AEW Dynasty. But as you've heard, some people already a little bit behind, I fear. But until then, I've been James Rowlands and always joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, thanks for joining me.
No problem. I've had fun with New Japan, and I'm ready for the next show.
And of course, the mind of Monty. Monty, I'm glad you're in a better place.
Oh yeah, bad times don't last, as they say.
And of course, the genius of Gina. Gina, I know you don't watch it full time, but you know, you still know a bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely feel with each review show that we do, I just gain more knowledge, so it's still fun to be a part of.
Well, that is it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.